one of the viewers said, maybe if you did a bit more or put a bit more effort into the production of your videos, then maybe you'd get more people tuning in. And he said, after all, who wants to watch this guy with all that hair and beard sitting in front of a tombstone? And I thought to myself, well, do you know, I've never actually thought about it. Who would want to watch this beard and hair with a backdrop of a tombstone or a church? But I replied, nah, yeah, you know, doubtless there's infinite ways in which I could make my videos more appealing to modern times. But I'm working on the assumption that it won't be too long before people will be, excuse the pun, dying to come to listen to a real human being out in the abstract speaking about real stuff. Because all it is going to necessitate is one coronal mass ejection, which is to say one sun flare, which the world, the technological world, lives in fear of, because it would fry the artificial intelligence on this world within an instant. It would completely send us back into the Dark Ages. Now, for people like me who haven't really left the Dark Ages, it would have little effect, because I don't have any level of dependency on it. And I honestly can envision a time like in the old Socratean days, or the Greek Stoics, hanging around the marketplace or in the plaza, chewing the chewing the cud it is, and passing the time of day. These days, you know, I don't watch too many people who make the sort of videos I'm now referring to. I watch, you know, philosophers and psychoanalysts and people that are articulate and are not terrified if they have a little bit of a cough or blink or have to scratch their nose in a video, or if they pause for about a millisecond and they'll feel terribly ashamed and embarrassed about that. And you watch these videos and literally every 3 seconds there has been a cut. And I've counted, say like a 10-minute video, 30 or 40 cuts. And I'm like, the work involved in that is immense. What level of insecurity is behind that? I can't understand that. I will never partake with that. And so that is completely alien to me. And lots of videos, I look down and I think, have I got this on ×2 speed? Because they're speaking like this, and they've got to get everything out, and you know, they've got all the notes, and you can see it's so contrived, and they've had about 50 attempts at making that video, and you go, wow, what pressure these people live under. Because they think that people will lose attention unless you got to keep giving them data. You got to just keep feeding them data, man. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be incessant. And so now, you know, for many years now, you know, I just take my time. And if people don't want to watch, they don't want to watch. And if people aren't wise enough to watch a little bit of my discourses and think like, oh, there might be something intelligent in there. This guy looks like he could be intelligent, sounds a little bit like he might be. I'm gonna hang on, you know, to see if there's anything intelligent. But when I look on the analytics of my videos, I will see that absolute maximum duration of viewing that any one of my video ever gets, and this is averaged, is like 40%. So if that's the average, then I know there's lots of my regular viewers who always make it to the end of the videos, because you know that I can drop the bombs at any time. And so you're wise enough to hang around for the duration, and you it's probably kind of like a relaxing experience for you to listen to this middle-aged dude sitting in front of a tombstone. It probably gives you a chill factor. I know it does me. And but younger people, I think the percentage of people under 25 is about 20%. My peak of viewers is between the 35 and 45 mark. That's where I've got the most viewers. And so I'm like, there's lots of things I could do to change my audience, but I don't care how many people watch my videos, because as I've said to you before, what I'm saying is going into the Akasha. It's going into this Akasha, and it's also going into the AI Akasha. What I'm saying is being recorded, and it will never be deleted. So it's in there somewhere. And if it isn't utilised now by people watching, one day the information may be used by AI, because it's scanning all this information with its brilliant computeration, looking for patterns and all this sort of thing. And I suppose somewhere there's an archive for philosophy and wisdom, and I'll be in it. And so I don't mind who watches my videos or who don't. And if I have a video on occasion where I am pointing out to the ones that are watching, are you alive or are you dead? That's all I'm asking, basically. Are you dead or are you alive? Because if I get 300 hits on a video and I only get 5 comments, I'm thinking, well, 295 must be dead. They have to be, because I'm pretty sure that I have plenty to say on Twitter to a cat video or pizza video. But with the level of discourses that I have, it's kind of like, it's overwhelming. And lots of people have said that you say too much, I don't know where to start. Okay, I get it. I speak for a long time and I speak about a lot of stuff. But anyway, that's by and by. So today I met up with Mr. Nobody, which we do about every 10 days, every 2 weeks. And we go out to different places. And from the moment we meet to the moment we leave, which is about 6 hours duration, we never pause speaking for barely 5 seconds. There is too much to say, and because we have such a rapport with one another, Mr. Nobody, for those of you that are new to the channel, is my best friend, and we used to make lots of videos together. But for the past 3 years, he's pretty well going off the AI grid, and he doesn't want any semblance of him actually being here in the world ever to remain when he leaves. And in view of the frightening aspect of what is happening in the world with the data being gathered, then I can very much appreciate that. And in view of the fact that we have these witch hunts today, whereby people will hunt people down and they will go through all of the archives for as far back as they go. Well, people being born in these times, that means that these archives are going to go back before they was even born, because their parents will be speaking about the lump and the kicking in their tummies. and they will have all different sorts of data already on this child before it's even entered the world. And that is a very frightening prospect indeed. And so I hear anybody who doesn't want to put their names and faces up on this AI system, because look, in recent times Joe Rogan was attacked for using the N-word. Nobody can say that word anymore, and if I said it, my channel would be taken down in an instant, or my video would be flagged, and that entourage would have me marked. So it's very powerful. And so Joe Rogan, for saying the N-word some 15 years ago in his stand-up comedy, completely taken out of context, because he's the least racist person you could ever meet. You know, he's an upstanding dude. But there are parties which will go after everybody and anybody. And I was just informed by Mr. Nobody today that they are now attacking Russell Brand. And I've got a lot of time for Russell Brand. I think he's one of the greatest intellects of the day. His heart's in the right place. He's a great guy all round. But they're going for him. They're gunning for him, and somebody has decided that they want to destroy him. Because what he does, you see, in the old days, up until about 4 years ago, he was very anti-state. But somebody had a word in his ear, and overnight he changed. Probably because he's newly married now and he's got kids. Maybe it was something to do with that also, but most certainly he had a word in his ear from those up there which told him, stop saying what you're saying. If you continue, we'll ruin you in an instant. So he stopped, didn't he? But what he didn't stop, he didn't stop alluding to it. He still alludes to the man upstairs. He still alludes to the inbuilt corruption of how the world is run, but he doesn't say it overtly. You have to be a little bit wise to be able to pick up on what he's saying. And so I think it's them that are gunning for him. And I hope he comes out of it. But these people, they have massive resource and they stop at nothing. And the same people have been gunning for Jordan Peterson for the past probably about 4 years. But fortunately, he can fend them off. And he's fending them off currently with $90,000 a week court fees. He's got a whole entourage of legal people working for him as he's fighting the system, and it's only through the support he gets from his supporters that enables him to do that. And he said he's in a very fortunate position, because if it was anybody else except a millionaire, they simply wouldn't be able to do it. So these bullies, they have a collectivized resource, and they are paid by people like George Soros, you know, trillionaires, Gates Foundation, and all these sorts of people. They are supported by all of those to eradicate anybody that isn't working for this new machine. And for those of you that have listened to the World Economic Forum, I think it was Prince Charles was speaking at it. He was heading it. In actual fact, he's like the major ambassador for the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is a group of gazillionaires which rule the world, and they supersede governments, armies, and all the rest of it. They are above everybody. And they have an agenda for the world, and anybody that gets in their way, governments, generals, anybody, they're going to be short-lived. And so this is what we're dealing with today, people. And so people that stick their head above the parapet, well, if you say the wrong thing, that can come back on you in 20, 30, 50 years' time. And we're going to hear more and more about this, because as soon as they want you out of the scene, then they're just going to go back. They'll just put something in the algorithms and they'll find whatever they are looking for. And if they can't find it, they'll invent it. Anyway, that's not what I'm going to be speaking about today. I'm speaking about the rapport that some fortunate ones have with people, whereby we can speak endlessly without pause, like I can with Mr. Nobody and quite a lot of people who are awoken. If they are awoken, if they are within the same vibration, then there is no end to our what can we say, when people are the people that we speak to, they are interlocutors. So could it be interloculation? Is that a word? But either way, when we have this rapport with somebody, it's a very, very beautiful thing. And for somebody like me, it's very important, because if there was nobody who I could spend this level of time with to speak about the depths of where I am in life, then it would be a pretty bleak place. And so my social event, if not with him and maybe one or two others, then is YouTube. And so I look for some sort of level of communication via you, the viewer. And some of you can articulate yourself and you get where I'm coming from, and so, you know, it gives rise to a little bit more of something, what my YouTube channel is, because it's kind of like, I don't know why I do it. I've never known why I've done it, other than that I'm inspired to do it. I have cosmic downloads which tell me to do it, and so I'm operating under somebody else's jurisdiction. And it just so happens, like I've said in other videos, that I have this variety of mind and I have this variety of lifestyle, which enables me to look very, very finely at the world, and that's what this thing wants from me, because of that attribute that I have. And so I'm looking finally at the world. And for those of you that are new, I've made in excess of 4,000 videos over an 8 or 10 year period, and most of the channels have been taken down because I've been speaking out of turn, because I'd get involved in places where people didn't want me to get involved, and they close you down in an instant. And so I have a different methodology. Of course I have to now, because I've tried lots of other platforms, and if people think this is an abysmal platform for interaction, well, you just go on any of the other platforms and you'll barely get a comment at all. It just doesn't happen. And so anyway, I'm back, and this channel's been up, what, 2.5 months, something like that, and it's doing fine. 90 videos now. What is it, 350 subscribers or something like that. And the subscribers are coming from all over the world. Before, when I had my channels, because I was a marked man, every time I created another channel, then I would be ghosted, and that channel wouldn't be allowed to go global. And the only people that could ever find me were those that specifically typed in my name, and that's why the subs were very limited. But now it appears that people are coming from all different sorts and walks of life, because the algorithms have changed. They're much more sophisticated these days, and I'm not ghosted. And so that's what's happening there. But to have somebody to share where we are at, when we are at a pretty advanced spiritually awoken level, it gets a bit thin with friends and family that you can communicate with. And so a channel like this is like a lighthouse for moths. it's a voice in the wilderness, and it will attract people who have similar sort of questions. Most people that my videos attract are people that are just starting out, and they're bewildered, and they don't know what's going on, and why they're feeling this and why they're feeling that. And from one of my old videos, these videos I'm putting up, they're 2018, people, but there's more to come from, you know, maybe a year or two before and a year or two after. I've got, you know, an enormous amount of them, but I'll just randomly bang, you know, a few up here and there, just to because I no longer speak about lots of that stuff, because all my videos, they're about my journey, and I would speak on a daily basis about all the things that I'm observing, discovering, and, you know, this and the other. But now, you see, I'm in a certain realm. I've done all that, and I'm getting closer to the pinnacle of the pyramid. I'm pretty up there now, you know, on the cusp of discovering the true nature of God. That's quite something, people. And I could even say that I've discovered the nature, but you'll have to read my book if you want to find out about that. And so I'll keep churning out some of these old videos, but one viewer was a new viewer and said, like, oh, this video came up in my feed, and he said, oh, you better be careful, you might be heading for an oh my god, existential crisis. An existential crisis. And I'm like, watch this video. You know, oh, who am I? I already had it a long time ago. And so yeah, because what he saw, and the video was where I'm walking through the zoo and I'm looking in the finest details of everything, and he recognised some illness in that. I mean, there's lots of people that get overwhelmed with data, and there is another friend of mine who is struggling pretty badly at this moment in time, because this person finds the influx of nuance too overwhelming. He can only deal with black and white, and if anything gets a bit grey, he's entirely confused, and he just can't work out why anybody would invent grey, or why there is grey at all. Why can't it just be black and white? Simple, then everybody knows what everybody's talking about. And I'm like, well, it's because you evidently don't have the software of nuance, because we do know what people are speaking about when we have a broader spectrum of consciousness to be able to read between the lines, you know, that sort of thing. But this friend of mine, due to his upbringing, struggles with reading between the lines, and so he needs it in you know, very base format, and the world increasingly isn't like that. And so there's the difficulty. So yeah, I put those videos up, and then I put that one up with the palm tree and the lighthouse, and nobody has anything to say about that one. And I get it, because it's a brief video, and I mentioned in there about the golden ratio. I mentioned about the Fibonacci sequence. Anybody that doesn't know about those things wouldn't have a clue what I'm speaking about. But if you know quite a lot about the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence and the brilliance of that, and how that is written through the whole of the cosmos, then you would know what a big deal that video was. One person gets it and says, wow, ooh, only a brain like the Awakened Braves would notice that. Exactly, because there's not too many people that look at the details. And I'm one of these people that always has looked at the details. I've always wanted the details. And whenever I've wanted the details on something, I have to go to ground zero. I can't start halfway, or can't just read one book with an overview of it. I have to go to the absolute bottom. I have to go to before the footings were put in the foundation. Where did these concepts come from? Like psychoanalysis, psychology, like philosophy. I have to go back to the beginning. Religion, I've got to go back as far as I possibly can to find out the source of these things, and then I come forward and then I have a broader picture, and so it gives rise to a greater understanding. So if I make a video for 4 minutes, well, the information behind that 4 minutes is like 10 years of constant study. And so I get it that people don't comment. I get it that they don't even think it's worthwhile of acknowledging with a thumb up, because they just think, oh shit, why did he make a video about a tree and a lighthouse? This guy's losing it. But when you understand those things, you'll go, oh boy, this guy knows exactly what's going down. And that's the difference. And so, why does this guy know a thing or two? Because he's driven. Is it got anything to do with Aaron, the ego? No, nothing to do with the ego. The ego probably don't give a flying. The ego's just here. I mean, my ego was very useful in my younger years because it took me around the world a dozen times. It got me to get involved with so many things, and it built a very, very strong foundation for what I'm doing now. And so it was very valuable up until a point. And when the ego was no longer a value to me, Spirit let me know. And Spirit let me know with 7 years of reflection through my dark night of the soul. Sent me into a spiraling depression, which wasn't too debilitating. It wasn't like I had suicidal thoughts every day and I hated the world. No. I have always loved the world, fascinated with the world, and I read incessantly for 12 hours every single day, and I've been doing that for a long, long time. But it just sent me into reclusion because I couldn't get what I wanted from the human being. At least I couldn't get it from living human beings, because the ones I needed to speak to were vastly too far and few between. So I had to go into literature, books written 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and then bringing it forward. And then I was introduced to a certain pattern and way of thinking and how to extract the answers. And so what you'll be seeing now is some of these random videos thrown in, just for you new viewers. No point in commenting on my disposition, because that was then, and I've had a whole multitude of dispositions in my videos, completely from one end of the spectrum to the other. And so just sit tight and observe for a while. You can comment if you like, that video was cool, or you liked how I said this or said that, or you didn't realise this or you didn't realise that. Oh, that's made me a little bit more thoughtful, that's made me a little bit more introspective. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the kernels of your growth. If you tell me that my videos are working for you, that's what it's about. It's not about telling me how great the videos are. I'm not interested. I really am not interested. What I'm interested in is if the videos are moving you, if they're working for you, if they are getting you to think outside of your narrow parameter of consciousness at this moment in time. Some of you have extended parameters of consciousness, but we can all expand on that. And that's all my videos are about, the constant expansions. And so this is what my book is about, this is what my videos are about. And it's one, I don't want to use the H-E-L-L word, but it's one good ride. You see, what would you supplant that with, to use that terminology? It's, you know, a hell of a ride. It's a hell of a ride. Well, you don't mean it's the most darkest and terrifying ride you've ever been on, do you? Well, no. I mean, it's just like, whoo, whoo, whoo. A bit like being on a roller coaster. Well, it's not a hell of a ride then, is it? Why don't you just say it's a roller coaster? It's just like being on a roller coaster ride. Yeah. You see, people, they don't use the correct terminology. Words are really, really, really important. Because if we don't use the right words, it's very difficult to convey ourselves, because people will interpret your actions so broadly. They will even interpret what you're saying because they don't have the similar level of comprehension or understanding about the language that you're using. You know, for instance, if I use words because I've looked at what they mean. And if I want to express myself in a certain way, then I'm like, how can I say this? And then I look in books like Thesaurus and dictionaries and what other words can I use in a similar sort of vein? You know, it feels a little bit like this. Then I want a word that feels like that. That feels, you know, go figure. And that's what we do, you see, because we're not telepathic anymore. We have to communicate in a language which is a real base and poor level of communication. Intuition and instinct is vastly more intelligent. This language is open for abuse, and of course it does get abused, and it's being abused every day. The words the media use when they want to grab our attention, if they want to drag us screaming to listen to them, they know exactly what words to use. So, what else? I've just finished chapter 11, but again, it's kind of like I've not finished it. I'd finished chapter 9, 10, and now 11, and the chapters are not finished. They're only kind of like blueprints. The whole book is probably only a blueprint. It's 180 pages already, now 110,000 words. And I've got probably about 3 or 4 more chapters, maybe 5 chapters, constituting maybe 50 or 100 pages, but then I've got to go back to the beginning again, and I've got to go through it all again. And if it's 250 pages, then by the time I've gone through the, let's say, 15 chapters, then I'll have another 50,000 words added to it, probably. Because I am quite pedantic, and I do have a great level of attention to detail, I can't help being probably a bit overly critical about, I didn't say this and I didn't say that, and that's a little bit too difficult to comprehend. I've got to expand on that, and I've got to do all this stuff. But the point is, what it's doing is it's enabling me to defrag my computer system, because before I started this book I had all of this information which, you know, spans 60 years, predominantly, let's say, since I woke up, then let's say like 12-13 years. There's a lot of information, and putting it into this book is like a defrag on the computer. It's putting everything in its place. And so when I've done it, when I'm finally finished with the book, and I send it to the publisher, then I'm going to be, you know, pretty settled with it. And then all of these immense concepts, ideas that we have in this dimension, you know, what is the nature of God? What is the nature of being? What is consciousness? What is love? You know, do hell and heaven actually exist? And all this stuff. You know, the astral world, the dream world, the psychedelic world. There's an enormous amount of stuff in this book. And so the chapter I've just finished was, I was asking the question, is the world perfect? And I looked at it from as many facets as I can, feasibly, without completely bamboozling the reader. We could go on, we could go off on tangents all over the place, and we'll completely lose, you know, the interest of the reader because there'll be too much information. So what I've done is I've narrowed down lots of the avenues of information into my own personal experience, because I can speak from a reality as I know it and knew it to be. So when things have happened 12 years ago, I can look at them now with fresh eyes, and I can recall almost word for word what I said 12 years ago when I made videos about this stuff. But in addition to that, I've got a new vantage to look at what was said and what was experienced, and on top of all those experiences, I've had a whole range of other experiences in the similar sort of supernatural, phenomenological, paranormal realms, and so they're all coming together, and for me it's exciting. It's kind of like a release and a relief, because once I've got it all out and it's all down for posterity in a book, I can let it all go. And in one of the chapters I speak about how I've arrived at a time in my life whereby I don't want to remember anything about my life save for the precious moments between myself and my daughter. Every single thing else can be forgotten, because even the memories of what I have done and learnt in this life, they're indelibly embedded in my spirit, and so I can forget them from my conscious memory. But like on a computer, when you erase what's on the hard drive, you can never erase that imprint which is embedded in that hard drive, and all that information can be retrieved with certain technology. And so that's what I feel intuitive like. The information that I'm dealing with comes from the Akasha, and it's going back into the Akasha, and every time I make a video it's going out into the Akasha, so it doesn't matter whether anybody sees it or anything. This is just satiating my egoic involvement, because the ego is functioning in life. It's got to get out of bed and it's got to do something. So I think to myself, well, what am I going to do? Well, you keep getting all these things in your head, mate. Why don't you just talk about those? Oh, okay, yeah, I'll talk about those then. Because every day I get, you know, inspiration and a download about, you know, some insight into something. And if you don't express them, if you don't verbalize them, if you don't make them manifest into something, then they are going to keep going round and round like ghosts in your mind. And so we have to release the spirits, and they will all enter you. You know, these words, the spirits behind the words. You know, words, thoughts are things. And the other day I was watching one of my videos. I uploaded it, but I never set it to go public, because I thought, I don't know, that video might be the wrong tone for where this channel is now. Because if there's any videos speaking about negative stuff, which this video was, it was about negative demonic attachments, then I thought, no, I can't throw that one in a mist, 50 videos on the beauty of God. I don't want to upset the apple cart like that. But that video was about, how words are entities, and when we speak certain words, they carry certain energy, and I was speculating that there are actually spirits pertaining to these energies, and that's why we shouldn't say them, and that's why I won't say the HATE word. I won't say it, and I avoid using EVIL. But in the book I've had to speak about it. But it makes a lot of sense that we don't engage in these words because of the energy that they carry. And anyway, I'm sitting here, I'm busting to go to the toilet, the fact is, and so I'd love to spend a little bit more time with you, but I think I've probably done about 35-40 minutes here. It's going to be interesting to see the timestamp on this, but I'm normally pretty well within about a minute of the duration. I don't have a time thing, by the way, on this. I just know. And so anyway, maybe it's going to turn out that, oh, you're wrong this time, it's only 29 minutes. Might be. But anyway, let's see. So anyway, I'll probably dig out a couple more of the retro videos, and I'll bang those up after this, and see what you think, guys and girls. Catch you later.